Welcome to Self-Love Sessions with Aisha Muhammad. It's great that you've made the decision to be here. This podcast series is here to support you in your self-love journey, to get an understanding of what self-love is and to help you apply it practically in your life so that you can be prosperous and create the life that you want. My name is Aisha Muhammad and I am a self-love coach, and I primarily coach women to utilize the power of self-love through the practice of self-care to design the life that they want. Now, what is this thing called self-love? We hear it all the time, and often when we do, we will picture in our minds maybe going to the nail salon or having a massage or a nice relaxing bath. And while some of these practices are to do with self-care and they very much demonstrate a degree of self-love, when we look at self-love, we are able to see that it is something integral and deeply rooted in who we are. When we love ourselves, we will be found making decisions that are beneficial for us when it comes to our mental, our emotional, our spiritual, and our physical well-being. Self-love is no joke. When you embark on the journey to love yourself more, you have to start with some self-reflection, looking at your behavior, your patterns, and some of your life events to be able to work out where you are. When you identify your patterns of behavior, the things that have happened to you in life, maybe they're repeating themselves in some way. When you get to see this is a real gift, because this is when you have to crack things open and analyze and look deep into why you're doing things that you're doing, why you think a certain way, and how your thoughts manifest into things. You may come from a family whereby the women find themselves in toxic relationships, marriages, and then you find yourself in the same situation. You see, there's something called generational curses, which is when through the generations, people in families, they dramatize similar situations. So whether it's the experience of rape and molestation, domestic abuse, obesity, mental health, single parenthood, the list goes on, but it shows up time and time again. What self-love will afford you is the opportunity to really examine what's happening, to look at the different stories of the people in your family, and to really make that decision that you are going to be the agent of change. You see, when I look at my family tree, I think about what I want people to see. I often imagine some young man or woman in my family in the future who wants to trace their family tree and see who's who and what's what. And I often think about my branch. What are they going to discover about me? And I ask you the question, what would that person in your family who later on down the wheel of time decides to trace their family tree, when they look at your branch, what will they see? I want them to see a change. I want them to see prosperity and success. I want them to see that it doesn't have to be the way it was with us experiencing these negative patterns. We can turn it around and have successful relationships and marriages and good health, great mental capacity and sanity to be able to establish successful businesses, to really make a mark on this world, to be able to have friends in all walks of life. We have to make a decision to do things differently and to be different so that we can get a different outcome, one that is beneficial and demonstrates self-love on all levels. You see, self-love, even our finances, when we look at that, setting yourself up and breaking some bad habits in the way we look at money and think about money and how we deal with it. How many of us are financially literate? How many of us have savings? How many of us are living and relying on a job for a means of income? The world is changing. So even in looking at our finances and adapting and looking at the way that we actually make money, this is a part of self-love. Because you have to think about the future generations. Consider building a legacy for those who will come after. That's a big act of self-love. So self-love is a lot deeper than what many of us would initially think. It is actually the key to being successful in life. Self-acceptance, that's important. Accept who you are now by way of acknowledging where you are in life, your strengths and your room for improvement, and go about making those changes so that you can be that new, improved you. Who do you want to be? Who, in fact, are you? And why are you here? On your self-love journey, these are questions that are going to come up. It's truly liberating when you commit to the process and understand that it really is that. It's not to be judgmental. It's not to beat up yourself. It's really to understand that you're on a journey, the journey of life, and there's lots of learning in order to level up, to take things to the next level. The self-love journey is indeed one that you have to take. You have to love yourself before you can truly love others. I've found on my self-love journey that I'm one who loves to help others, but I'll be more effective in helping myself to truly be committed. There's lots of changes happening in the world that has led us to really examine what's important. Many of us have found out things about ourselves that we never knew because we hadn't been challenged in the way that we have been challenged. Many of us have had to pivot in our businesses. Many of us have had to make some hard decisions. We've had to let some people go. We've had to learn how to ask for help. We've had to learn how to accept help. We've learned the value of true friendship. And some of us have learned who our enemies and frenemies are. But it's been a beautiful learning experience, one that is continuing. Embrace the journey, embrace yourself, and forgive yourself. That's another thing that comes up on this journey of self-love. Learning to forgive yourself for your mistakes and not beating yourself up about them and just acknowledging that it's a part of life. More importantly, what did you learn? What did you learn about yourself? Self-love allows you to be able to love others more deeply. And that's what the world is in need of right now. It's in need of love. I hope that you've been able to identify with some of the points that I've touched on in this first episode of Self-Love Sessions. Feel free to share this podcast and leave a comment or a review. I would love that. You can keep in contact with me on all of the major podcast platforms. I'm also on Facebook under Aisha Muhammad, and also the Aisha Muhammad podcast. Aisha is spelled I-S-H-E-A. And also, I have a YouTube channel. Make sure you tune in to my other podcast series, COVID Conquerors. And that is live. It's a live broadcast on Facebook and YouTube fortnightly, where I interview phenomenal men and women who are thriving during this time of the pandemic, regardless to whom or what, and they're thriving personally or by way of service to their community. Once again, it's an act of love. So until next time, take care and remember to show yourself some love.